Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. You believe in that?
Sam Darnold more than Daniel Jones. I don't know what that says about Daniel Jones. I honestly don't know what that says about Sam Darnold either, if I'm being honest.
Do you have a hard time in these moments detecting if you're being fair? Because I have a hard time in these moments detecting if I'm being fair.
100%, especially with the guy like Daniel Jones. Like the last time we saw Daniel Jones, he was told to go home mid-shift, okay? We didn't even have to get to the end of the season before New York said, actually, buddy, whatever you have planned for your winter, you go on and get to it. You want to go skiing? Hit the Alps. We don't need you, all right? Hand over your key card now. So that's the guy I think I'm most held up by. I do think, and focusing on him specifically, and maybe there's a bigger conversation to have, the fact that he looks this competent right now in Indianapolis, in spite of the fact that not a single bit of the Colts roster has changed around him. What does that say about Brian Dable in New York? And more importantly, what does that say about Anthony Richardson?
So, I'm holding out on Richardson. I feel like I'm holding out on him in part because of the examples of guys like Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold, and Baker Mayfield, who I do want to get to at some point because I think he's a bit of a tricky case. But the development arc of a quarterback is much longer than it is typically given credit for being, and the nature of the salary structure in the NFL, it now requires teams to make these decisions about quarterbacks in year 3. Basically, which appears to be too early. Now, I felt like after they put Richardson on punishment last year, that he came back and looked better, and that there was a possibility that this year, who knows? I can't say that Richardson couldn't have looked like that this year in this offense, because I saw Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones play last year, and I think Anthony Richardson was better.
Was a better player, yeah.
Right, so how can I say that? And I guarantee you, there's somebody who is saying exactly what I'm saying right now for anybody to listen, and that is Anthony Richardson. I assure you that he is making it known. I could do that. And
I'm
like,
sure
why ain't you do it last year? And he like, why ain't he do it last year?
I'm sure at practice they're going through the exact same route tree as they're warming up, and he's looking at Daniel Jones make these throws, and he's got to be looking at his offensive coordinator like, really? That dude? You telling me that dude is the guy that you put me on the bench for? Are you positive that that's what you want to do? And then on the other hand, that offensive coordinator could pull up film and say, hey, man, this is a 3-yard completion. Why is somebody pulling a tooth out their mouth in the third row? Okay? I don't know how to square these two things because they're both true. They're both true, and I don't know which one deserves more weight in this scenario. I think that for Richardson, maybe he just needs a change of scenery. I do think, not to be morbid about it, I also think the fact that there was a change in ownership, basically, over the offseason might have changed some things with their timeline, because it seems like the newest Irsay, daughter Irsay, is a lot more involved. And I think that maybe coming in the door, she said, one thing I ain't going to do is watch a guy complete 40% of his passes. Okay? we can't live like that. I can't tell you that Daniel Jones is going to give us a better chance to win, but I know that for my own well-being and mental health, I cannot watch a quarterback throw the ball into the sideline every time he's trying to check it down.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I forget which of these trees Steichen's off of, but it seems to me that if you're going to make it work with Richardson, you need something Shanahan McVay-y, which is to say, we throw it far.
Right.
Like, we do these things because, I mean, you put Richardson in like a stretch run game. That's an underrated thing that people don't get, is that a quarterback that can move can then stretch out what's possible on the stretch play. It's why people were excited about the idea of Malik Willis coming into the league in spite of some of his physical limitations, is watch what happens on the stretch, right?
Right.
I feel like there's a place where it could get done, but you're right. If you can't trust the dude to just get the little nickels and dimes when they out there, that's got to be incredibly frustrating when you're in charge.
How do you call plays? With that in mind? That if there's a guy wide open 5 yards away from the quarterback, that you can't count on the fact that he can put it on the guy's chest. That's a difficult thing to call plays around. But I do agree with you. And I think that maybe this situation has just kind of gone rotten. It doesn't necessarily seem like the Colts are totally out on him as a human. Right. I think they were frustrated after his first 2 years, not being able to stay healthy. Yeah, gas stations, part of the music videos in Indianapolis. People are a little worried about where your head is at. You might not be in the film room the way that they need you to be. But since then, it seems like not only, to your point, has he played better, it seems like he's been more invested in trying to be a better version of himself as a quarterback. It just might be too late. And like you said, these timelines, the trajectory that's expected on quarterbacks it's unfair for a guy like Richardson, especially when you're picked 4th overall.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe that toothpaste is just out of the tube. I do think if he is ever on the market, as an Eagles fan, I got to look and say,
I buy low on that.
Man, look, if I don't want my starting quarterback doing all that tush push, all the design quarterback run stuff, and just in case he gets dinged up, I can get somebody who can hand the ball off, run some play actions, and give the ball to A.J. Brown. I can't imagine a much better option than that.
Let me tell you something. At some point, and I don't know exactly when that point is, somebody gonna cash in on Trey Lance. Like he's right now getting remade in that Harbaugh image. Like somebody, let me tell you this. Everybody need to be afraid. They buy low on Trey Lance, and then somehow Harbaugh got a spot for Anthony Richardson to just come in there and learn a little something.
That's a great call. That's a great call.
Watch what I saw what Harbaugh did with Colin Kaepernick. I see what Harbaugh done with just about everybody you gave Harbaugh.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and for me, I think that with Richardson, the scheme that you laid out is exactly what he needs. I think that he also needs a legitimate veteran in front of him who can tell him what to do from a mental perspective. Because I'm sure, Daniel Jones, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Daniel Jones don't seem like a great example, right? Like what Daniel Jones film you about to pull up? I was like, hey man, here's how I identify the blitz. All right. That don't seem like the kind of guy that's going to get you any closer to being the quarterback you need to be. I would say, honestly, even in Baltimore, you can go look at Lamar Jackson, who was not as inaccurate as Anthony Richardson coming into the league, but certainly had some mechanical stuff he needed to clean up. You get with a guy like that, he might get you right. Honestly, you get with a guy like Sam Darnold, who for whatever reason has gone from a little too ambitious in New York to not ambitious enough in Carolina, and then gets to Minnesota, and now you're letting it loose again. You might be able to go back up a guy like that and get some training and be ready. I do not think that we have seen the last of that guy, and I don't think we've seen the last of him being a viable starter in the league.
All right, you mentioned Darnold right quick, and this is the thing that I think is worth saying. I did not feel like the Sam Darnold of last year looked that much different than the Sam Darnold of previous. The results looked different. I wasn't as so, and plus he had the best wide receiver in the league,
exactly.
Right?
And maybe the best play caller in the league too.
Yeah. Like it was a lot going on, but in the end, he reverted in a way that would terrify me, right? He reverted in a way that this isn't about how good you are. This is about what we were talking about before. This is about you losing your shit out here in front of everybody. And nobody knows how to fix that. There's not an answer. And look, some guys do at points get past it, or you just are able to get past it for the one postseason or whatever it is, right? But he never, that part he hasn't fixed and he hasn't gotten right. Seattle looks a lot better than expected. Keep it in mind, DK Metcalf does not play for them anymore, right? He's out there making it happen, but I think that nothing matters, and this is unfair to him, but I think you'll feel me. Nothing matters until it matters. Oh, by the way, they have the second best point differential in the NFC over there behind America's team, the Detroit Lions.
Nothing about Seattle's success right now really has all that much to do with Sam Darnold. And I will say that is best case scenario if you are Sam Darnold. You want to play for a team where no matter what version of me shows up, you got everything else teed up, right? Their run game has been better. Their defense might be the best in the NFL right now. You're playing in that wide zone scheme you're talking about, having one of the Kubiak kids calling all the outside zone for you. All he's got to do is just get the ball to Jackson Smith and Jigba. That seems simple enough. And as long as you can find that guy in the middle of the field, you will probably be just fine. But I'm with you. Until it's a rematch against San Francisco, right, for the NFC West title, until we're in that wild card round and you're in Philadelphia on that key third down and you know that blitz is coming or they're playing man coverage and you got to sit in that pocket and deliver the ball accurately, there is nothing that Sam Darnold can do to convince me. I just think that right now he might be a little bit better option than what's happening at his previous stop in Minnesota.
By the way, 2025, we're still using names like Shanahan and Kubiak. John Elway, job creator. John 1,000%. Elway has put those
created
two
families an economy
where they are for 40-something years.
100%.
They have been eating off of the legacy of John Elway.